Welcome back to Excel tutorials. This is tutorial number 5. So let's open up an Excel document. If you recall, in Excel tutorial number 3, we talked about cell referencing. We were using relative cell referencing. And in that video, this tab was called Cost Pool. We've changed the name to Overhead to better reflect the fact that we are going to use information in these columns for overhead costs. If you were following along in that video and created these worksheets, you may have populated these cells with information. In this lesson, we are going to make changes to these cells. So you need to go to File, Save As, and give it a new name. In this case, I have saved my file with the extension C4 so as not to overwrite my original file. Okay, so now you can see that these cells have some information in them. You can pause this video and populate your cells with this information. Product sales, unit profits, cost per unit, and for simplicity I've copied the same information to all the product line. So all the product line has the same information. And in the overhead tab, I've done the same thing. But in reality, of course, each year would have different information. So when you're using cell referencing, you can go and change any of these numbers in any of these years. Okay, let's talk about cell referencing again for a minute. In lesson 3, we populated these cells with relative cell referencing. Let's take a look at that. So for relative cell referencing, we started our equation with equals because all equations start with equals. We went to this tab. In this case, it's called Overhead. You can see that Excel has populated the formula with the overhead sheet. And now we will select our cell and press Enter. Now this cell is populated with column C and row 4 on the overhead sheet. And then we copied that formula down and across, thus populating each cell with the relative formula. So this cell is C4 in the overhead sheet. This cell is C5 in the overhead sheet. This cell is C6. Let's just check that. C4, C5, C6. Let's select these cells again. Another way of selecting cells is to pick a cell, hold down the Shift key, select the other cell, and then all the cells in between are selected. Now we right-click and select Clear Contents. Now let's look at absolute cell referencing. Let's pick this cell again. Start our formula with equals. Go to the overhead sheet. Overhead is populated into the formula. Select our cell, C4, and Enter. You see that this cell is populated with column C and row 4 from the overhead sheet. Now if we were to drag the fill handle down, this would become relative cell referencing. So in order to change this to absolute cell referencing, we need to put a $sign in front of column C and a $sign in front of row 4. Now this cell will absolutely reference that cell only. And if we copy this absolute reference, every cell will contain the numbers in column C and row 4. Tab. So this is an absolute cell reference. If we pull it down, and across. We see that all the cells are absolutely populated with column C and row 4 on the overhead sheet. Okay, let's clear the contents. We can click this cell and drag across to select them all. Right-click and select Clear Contents. We're going to make some changes to our sheets, and we're going to populate our cells again. This is good practice and will help us become very familiar with working in Excel. Now we need to make some changes to our header. But we want to make these changes to all of the sheets, all the way from 2012 to 2021. So as we learned in the last video, to make changes to all the sheets at the same time, we need to group them. So we select our first sheet, 2012, press the Shift key, and select all of the sheets that we want to make the same modifications to. So now we're going to remove this redundant information by deleting columns. We'll start here and drag all the way across to here, and we will select Delete. Now that information has been deleted from this sheet and also every sheet that we have grouped together, as you can see here. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And now we will ungroup our sheets by clicking the overhead. If you click a sheet that's not part of the group, all the sheets become ungrouped. Another way to ungroup is to right-click and ungroup sheets. Okay, carrying on, we need to populate the overhead costs with the information from the overhead sheet. And now we need to add a column to this overhead sheet. We will select this column because we want to add a new column to the left. And we'll select Insert from the ribbon. And now we have a new column. We're going to copy this cell, Control C, and select the next cell and Control V for paste, and escape. We will change this to say cost per unit, and AutoFit column width. Now we will select these cells, Control C, all the way down to 2012. Excel has many functions. For the total in this column, we're going to use the AutoSum. So we'll select this cell and then AutoSum and tab. And now we want to copy this formula down and format AutoFit column width. Okay, all of these cells contain the formula that we want, which is the AutoSum. And to copy that into the remaining years, we can simply select these cells, Control C, and that copies the formula. And we can paste that formula into the other cells all the way down to 2012. Well, in order to get a cost per unit, we need to divide the total by 40. So first of all, we select the cell. We start our formula with equals, because all formulas start with equals. Then we select our cell, and we use the divided sign, and 40, and enter. Now this total divided by 40 equals $333.90. We'll click that. We'll see that formula in the formula bar. Now we're going to use relative cell referencing again to copy that formula down. We don't want to use absolute cell referencing here because that would copy the absolute number of $333.90 to each cell. We want to copy the formula of each number divided by 40. Grab that and pull it down. And now each number has been divided by 40. Now we want to get a total down at the bottom for a cost per unit. So we will select this cell, go to the Home tab, and select AutoSum. and tab. Now all of these numbers have been added up and we have this total. $18,410.70 for our costs per unit for the year. Now we want to copy these formulas into the cells for the other years. So we will select these cells, Control C, select the first cell and Control V, all the way down to 2012. Now it may look like we've copied the numbers, but in fact we have copied the formula. So we'll go back to 2012. We'll select the cell that we want to populate. Start our formula with equals. We'll select the overhead tab, and that was 2012. So we want to go down to 2012 and select this cell and press enter. Now our overhead cost has been populated into this cell. We want to make this an absolute cell reference. In order to do that, we need to put a $sign in front of the column, which in this case is column P on the overhead sheet. So we'll put a $sign there. And we'll put a $sign in row 140. And enter. Now this is an absolute cell reference. And we will copy that formula all the way down. Now our cell has lost its double lines here. We need to repair that. So we will select these cells and select double bottom. And now it's been repaired. Now we want to copy this formula down to our other product lines. We will select these cells. Control C, select the first cell, Control V, select the first cell, Control V, first cell, Control V, and now all of our product line has been populated with the overhead costs. Escape. In order to get a cost per unit, we need to add the unit purchase price with our overhead costs. So we will select this cell and AutoSum and enter. Now we have the formula. In the formula bar, we'll copy that formula down. We can see that we need to do some repairs to this table, so we will select it. All borders and double bottom. And now our table is repaired. We also need to put the thick outside borders. We can easily make these changes to our other tables by selecting all of these cells that we repaired. Control C. Select the first cell, Control V. You see everything has been repaired. Control V. And Control V. So now we need to use cell referencing again to populate this cost per unit. So we select the first cell and start our formula with equals. We select the cell we want and press enter. Now this cell is equal to this cell. We want to use relative cell referencing and to copy that formula all the way down. Now we want to get the profit per unit. We can do that by subtracting the cost per unit from the unit list price. So we will select the cell and we will start our formula with equals, because all formulas start with equals. This cell minus this cell, and enter. So our profit per unit is our unit list price minus our cost per unit. Now we want to use relative cell referencing to copy that formula down. Once again, we see that our cell has been damaged. So we will select these cells go to borders. First of all borders, and then bottom double border. And now our table has been repaired. We can copy these formulas into our other product lines by selecting these cells. Control C, select the first cell and Control V. First cell, Control V. First cell, Control V. And now the formula has been populated into all of our product lines. And escape. And now we need to use relative cell referencing again to populate the profit per unit. So we'll select our cell and we'll start our formula with equal because all formulas start with equal. And we'll select the cell and press enter. We'll use relative cell referencing by dragging this down. Now we need to get our units sold. In order to do that, we need to get a total on the product sales. So we'll select this cell and use the AutoSum and enter. And now all of these cells have been added to get a total of 118. And now we'll copy that formula all the way down. We need that formula for all of our product line, so we will select these cells, Control C for copy, select the first cell and Control V to paste it in. And now each of these has the formula. Okay, we use escape key. Now we have a total for our units sold. We'll select this cell, start our formula with equals to this cell, and enter. Now this cell is equal to this cell. We'll copy that formula all the way down. And now we need a net income. Our net income is our profit per unit times the number of units sold. So we'll select this cell. We'll start our formula with equals this cell times this cell and tab. So for 118 units sold, our net income is this amount. And now we want to copy that formula all the way down. We see here the numbers cannot be displayed. So we go to Format and AutoFit column width. We will select these cells. Go up to Borders and select Bottom Double Border. And now we want to populate our other product lines with the same formula. So we will select all of these cells to copy the formulas with Control C into our other product lines. Control V. Control V and Control V. And escape key. Okay, as you can see, all of the cells have been populated for all of our product lines. And these numbers are not just copied. In fact, the formulas have been copied into each cell. And we can verify this by making changes. Let's say we are only up to May. So we will remove all of these product sales by selecting them, right-clicking, and clear contents. You see all of the numbers have updated. We'll do Control Z to undo that, and you see that the numbers have gone back to what they were. Control Y to do it again. So we can easily see and hear the numbers changing because the formula has been copied into the cells. And Control Z for undo. And just watch this table here. As I use Control Z to undo, you see all of these numbers change as we change the numbers in here. So Control Y to remove all that information. So as we're populating these cells for each month, our net income is also populating. So we'll click this cell and use AutoSum and enter. And Control C to copy that formula into the other. In our YRX product line, we have the full 12 months still populated. Now when we copy this formula with Control C, so let's do that. Let's use Control V to copy that formula into this cell. Control V. As you can see, this number is completely different than this number because we in fact copied the formula. And the formula is AutoSum of all of these numbers. Because these numbers are different than these numbers, the total is different. And we will do that all the way down. Now these totals are not different because these are also the full 12 months of the same numbers. Let's clear some more numbers just to see that. We will select these, right click, and clear contents. And now you see this is a different number than these other numbers. And now we'll clear some cells in this product line. We'll select these, right click, clear contents, and the numbers change. And so on. We'll select these cells in this product line and clear contents. And you see that our numbers change. So now all of these numbers are a little bit different because each one of these product sales have different numbers. And now that we've put back all the information exactly the same in the product line, the numbers are exactly the same for the net income. So now let's have a look at the overhead costs. So let's go back to 2012 and say that we're only up to April and not up to May. So we'll select all of these cells all the way up to December. We'll right click and clear contents. And we will go back to 2012 and make the same modifications. So we'll clear the contents from May to December for our product sales. We'll select the cells, right click, and clear contents for all of our product line. So you see, as we make changes to the cells, everything is being updated automatically. You see our units sold is now 32 to reflect the units sold for these 4 months. And that reflects in our total income. So now we have tables and overhead that can be updated each month, and we can see our profits being updated each month. So that's another look at cell referencing, in this case absolute cell referencing and relative cell referencing working together in our tables. Hopefully you've been following along and propagating these cells in your Excel workbook. That is the end of Excel tutorial number 5. Check back often for more Excel tutorials. And thanks for watching.